Formatting text and paragraphs is one way to change the look of your document. We can also focus in on the page layout, formatting things like the paper size, the margins within that paper, and even the orientation. That's what we're going to look at in this movie as we work with this version of our Landon Hotel press release. Go to the Chapter 5 folder of your exercise files and open up LH Press Release 0501. What you're going to see here is that this document's kind of spread out a little bit as we go on to the second page and all the way to the bottom. You can see there's a little bit of content that's spilling over into the next page. Wouldn't it be nice if this could all fit on 2 pages? Well, we can start playing with the layout to make that happen. So I'm scrolling up to the top here because I want my cursor at the very top. Any changes we make to page layout occur from the cursor down. So let's go up to the Layout tab on the ribbon. In the Page Setup group, you're going to see options for margins, orientation, size, and a number of other things. We're going to start with the page size. Click that, it's a drop down, and you'll see the current selection is letter 8.5 by 11. Now, if we went to something like legal, 8.5 by 14, obviously that's going to give us more length and everything's going to fit onto 2 pages. But if you don't want to print your document on 8.5 by 14 inch paper, that's not really an excellent option. But there are a lot of different paper sizes to choose from here, as you can see scrolling down the list, including some envelopes. You can see some that would probably be better represented as postcard type paper sizes, index cards, photos, lots of different options to choose from. So if we did go to legal, nothing seems to have changed on our page, but as we scroll down, you can see we can scroll down a lot farther and everything does fit onto 2 pages. But as I mentioned, that's not a good option because we want to print this out on 8.5 by 11. So let's change it back by going to the size drop down and choosing letter right at the top. There we go. What about orientation? Well, if we go to the orientation drop down, you can see there's 2 choices here. Portrait means we're looking at an 8.5 inch wide piece of paper by 11 inches long. Choosing landscape doesn't change the paper size, just the orientation. And now it's an 11 inch wide sheet of paper and only 8.5 inches long. And as we scroll down, you can see it still doesn't fit onto 2 pages. In fact, it takes up even more. So let's go back to orientation and change it back to portrait. There we go. So we still have the issue of it spilling onto a 3rd page. The last thing we're going to look at is changing our margins. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. If you're not seeing the ruler across the top and down the left, go up to the View tab and turn it on by clicking the ruler checkbox. You want to see a check mark there. And then let's go back to the Layout tab. We can change margins directly from the ruler. The gray areas that you see represent the margins. So on the left and the right hand side, it looks like 1 inch margins. Over here at the top, you can see it looks like it's more than 1 inch. And as we scroll down towards the bottom of the page, you can see the gray area representing the bottom margin. So I would probably want to start there. Notice there is a margins drop down as well. Clicking there allows us to choose from some presets. Notice narrow, for example, gives us 1/2 inch margins around the top, bottom, left, and right. Moderate leaves us with a 1 inch top and bottom margin, but only 3/4 of an inch on the left and right. That might be a good option. There are some wide, mirrored. There's the Office 2003 default, and then custom margins where we get to choose our own settings. Let's try, though, moderate. I think that might work for us. When we choose moderate, you can see already things have changed at the top. The gray areas are a little bit smaller. Same thing at the top, and as we scroll down our page, and on to page 2, check it out, everything fits on 2 pages. So that's an excellent option, but I'm looking at the left and right margins. I think they're a little bit too wide. So let's try changing things from the ribbon. On the ribbon, by going down to margins and choosing custom margins down at the bottom, we get to choose exactly what we want. I think the top and bottom at 1 inch is pretty good. But if we change the left and right margins, let's bump them up using the arrows to 0.8 and 0.8. That might work, but I think 0.9 would be better. Let's click OK and check it out. As we scroll down, get down to the bottom of the second page, that works. So it's a little bit wider. And if we wanted to make further adjustments on the ruler, for example, we can go to the gray areas. When you see the gray area meet the white area of the ruler, that marker right in between, it's a little bit of a line there. It's hard to see, but the double arrow appears, meaning you can now click and drag to change your top margin, your bottom margin, your left and right margins the same way. So you can do it manually from here. If you're not concerned about exact settings, we could stretch this up a little bit to make sure there's plenty of room on the second page. Click anywhere on the second page at the bottom, and you can see we can do the same thing with the bottom margin. If we needed more space, we just drag this down until we get that space. So those are the ways to change the look of your document by changing page layout. Remember, you can choose your own paper sizes, orientation, as well as set your margins either from the ribbon or directly from the ruler at the top or down the left-hand side of your screen.